Hi, this is Elliot Haspel, and welcome to another edition of Best Practices Weekly. Today we're going to be talking about classroom management best practices, and this comes from an article in Better Evidence-Based Education, in which a researcher did a systematic review of thousands of different studies about classroom management, drew 12 of them that showed really significant impact on classroom behaviors, and then synthesized best practices from that. So this is a way of sort of saying, here are some practices that have been proven to have a significant impact on student behavior. The first of these, and these might not be completely novel, probably things that you've heard before, but good to refresh that these are in fact the ones that are proven. The first is prevent inappropriate behavior proactively rather than reactively. That means, of course, having good management structures set up before the year begins, but it also means going beyond that. It means thinking about times during the day, times during any given lesson that may actually be more likely to have students be misbehaving at for one reason or the other. It also means prompting, cueing students about behavioral expectations before lessons or activities are beginning. It really means just thinking before you go into any day, before you go into any part of your day, what are potential hotspots around behavior and how can you get out ahead of them? So often we think about proactively getting ahead of classroom management behavior, or we think about just the structures we have in place ahead of time, but it's not just what you set up to begin the year, it also is what you're setting up before the beginning of a lesson, for the beginning of a day, anything like that. So really think about proactively working to prevent inappropriate behavior at all different levels and sort of time units. Next, explicitly teach students classroom expectations and routines. This is maybe self-explanatory, but we assume that students should know how to line up, right? We should assume that they should know what it means to talk to their partner and work in a group, but they don't necessarily know that, especially elementary school students. So we want to really explicitly model, teach, practice these behaviors over and over again so that the expectations, the routines are set, so that the classroom really runs just like clockwork. Next, acknowledge positive behavior specifically and in multiple ways. So I think as teachers we can sometimes sort of tend towards giving very general and positive reinforcement. We'll say, you guys are being great. You're doing a really good job. That actually doesn't do anything in terms of reinforcing behaviors because students can't tether that to what they're doing from which they're getting praise. So specific positive reinforcement, thanks for looking at your classmate while she's talking. I love the way that you're tracking me while I'm presenting. You're doing a great job of, giving each person in the group a chance to share their ideas. Those specific positive reinforcements have big benefits in reinforcing positive behavior. And also, have multiple ways for reinforcing behavior. Praise works really well for some students, but getting some sort of incentive works well for other students, other forms of public recognition. Just having multiple ways to reinforce positive behavior is going to enhance that amount of behavior continuing to happen. Next, use a continuum of strategies to respond to inappropriate behaviors, including reteaching the desired expectations. So, as teachers, we have lots of strategies in our tool belt. Proximity, standing near the student who isn't paying attention. Verbal, nonverbal redirection can be huge, just catching the student's eye and giving them a quick, look, the dreaded teacher eye. Behavior contracts, things like this can all be applied. It's about thinking about what's the severity of the behavior, what's the consistency of the misbehavior. But something that we miss as teachers sometimes is there also might be a call to reteach that behavior, to make sure that there's not a confusion about the expectation. Students misbehave for multiple reasons, but a major one is actually they really don't understand or don't remember what they're supposed to be doing. So if you reteach the behavior about what it looks like to be, facing your classmate while he or she is talking, then if someone is continuing to misbehave, you at least know it's not because they don't understand what's expected of them. And for a lot of students, that's actually all it takes, is just to remember, oh yeah, that's what I should be doing, especially for younger students. And lastly, monitor student behavior and adjust the plan as needed. So students are consistently giving us data about what they're what they think, how they're feeling, what they understand about what's expected of them by how they're choosing to behave. So if you're going to be an effective classroom manager, you need to be responding to the consistent stream of data that you're getting by being willing to know when I need to reteach the behavior, when do I need to reinforce the behavior positively, when do I just need to change my plans, when I say that this part of the plan isn't working, it's not meeting the needs of my students, and I'm going to adjust it. So getting really rigid about your classroom management plan and procedures can be a cause of actually not getting the behavior that you want, whereas being flexible, responding to students in the moment, and in your overall procedures can be a really effective strategy. So again, classroom management is more than just a series of practices of managing behavior. There's obviously components of motivation, of investment, making sure the students want to behave and that they're invested in the goals of the classroom, and that they really enjoy being there. But it is important that if we're going to set up the students for success, if we're going to set ourselves up as teachers for success, that we have good classroom management procedures and practices in place. And the research really shows that these are some major ones. So thanks for watching and happy teaching.